Hey there, I'm Peter DiPaolo, partner and author at Sophonaut, and here with me is Tyler. Tyler, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, this is Tyler Capps. I'm also partner and author at Sophonaut.
And today we're going to be having a short conversation about the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel and Blake Masters. It was written in 2014, I think, a few years ago. It's about startups. I wrote a summary. You can check the link out in the description of this video, and we're going to just jump right in.
All right, thanks for that, Peter. So just to kick things off, what drew you to this book and made you want to read it in the first place?
Yeah, short answer to that is I've been really interested in startups from the beginning of my career. I started a company with my roommate right out of college that brought us to the Stanford campus, and someone had told me about the course that Peter Thiel had taught. That was actually the year before I was there. So I was really close to it, but I wasn't a student there, so I wasn't able to attend the course. So this is basically like that course in book form, so really personal version of it. Then it got really, really popular and blew up.
Gotcha. So I guess from the article that you synthesized all of your learnings and takeaways from the book, I guess what was your first main thought after having gone through this book? I think you said you read it even a few times.
Yeah, great question. So I read this book a few times because I'm sort of torn. As I mentioned in the article, I have a love-hate relationship with it. So there's a lot to say on that. The short answer, though, is what I took from it initially is it's really good to have the foundation of what Peter Thiel calls the contrarian question. If you haven't ran into this word before, it's really popular in Silicon Valley. It just means that you go against the grain, or you have a belief in spite of popular beliefs. That's the first thing I took from this is, one, it's really inspiring because you're like, there's even a quote that says, never underestimate the power of an individual. And two, is to keep this mindset of, well, just because everybody is believing something doesn't mean I have to, and in fact it's better to question why something's popular, why that belief is widely held.
Gotcha. So I guess what drew you to this is that there's a lot of, or like that thought is that it's vibes with how you kind of approach a lot of what you see in Silicon Valley, and there's maybe like a chorus that you don't really sing along with.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge irony in Silicon Valley of, like, this is the place where everyone calls themselves disruptors, and they call themselves, like, they're like, counterculture. I think that was true, like, a long time ago. Now, it's people who have read the articles and the books of people who call themselves disruptors and counterculture and believe that they are because they read that book. But really, it's an inversion. It's kind of like how the Republican Party and the Democratic Party actually have inverted their beliefs over time. That's a longer story, but it's just it's like Silicon Valley used to be this thing where all of the weirdos and the freaks went to go and try to like fight the man. Now it is the man. So being contrarian in Silicon Valley is like in some ways being more conventional and like conservative.
Interesting. So I can see it. That's probably why like you jived well with that contrarian question, but also I'm guessing the fact that he's writing a book on startups means he's part of this. Like he's been on both sides of the inversion as well, and maybe that's what leads to the hate side of your love-hate with this book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Peter Thiel's a really polarizing figure. I mean, after this book, like years after this book, he supported Donald Trump, which was hugely controversial. He moved out of Silicon Valley to Austin, Texas, right? He pulled a lot of heat for his actions, which even though I might not personally agree with his beliefs, I think he's actually like walking his talk. He was very contrarian, and then Silicon Valley like declined in it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like it goes back and forth. Like there are people who are doing things that are crazy. People tell them like you should be more contrarian, like when they in fact are, compared to like when someone else is sort of like towing the party line, like for whatever it is. Like,
but at some point when you're saturated in an area full of contrarians, that is the party line.
Exactly.
Right? So
yeah,
you have to be a contrarian to the contrarians.
I think the really cool part of this question, what I like about it, is not the contrarian part of it. I'm going to try to say contrarian less because it's such a mouthful of a word, and just say, like, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? That's the question. Truth being the real interesting part of this. I think when people try to be contrarian, what they're really doing is just disagreeing, and for not necessarily for a reason. the most interesting part of that sentence is not the very few, it's actually the fact that it's truth. So, for me, going and finding new truth, like I studied science in school because it's the study of nature. It's like you're looking at what did nature do. That's true. You can't really argue with dirt is dirt, rocks are rocks. So discovering truth is the thing that resonates most with me. Mm-hmm. Being disagreeable and a disruptor, which is what people I think have interpreted this, is really kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like you don't need to disrupt things to discover new secrets and understand the truth of the world.
Gotcha. So it sounds like there's a few mantras in the book, some that resonate with you more and others that don't.
Yeah.
If you had to give a three-piece summary of what the book was about, if there's are there certain different mantras? What is he walking through, and what's he trying to sell you on in the book, or paint a picture?
There's three. Yeah, really great question too. The three pieces are: one, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? This is then applied to every sector. It's applied to business, it's applied to sales, it's applied to, every sector in business, right? Within the business books industry.
Sure.
The second piece is that a monopoly is really good and competition is really bad. I find that one harder to agree with, but the definition of monopoly in this is that it is a company that does something so well no one can compete with it. So it's not like a conventional monopoly that we know of from the oil days, which is monopolies that discovered a resource and then had to fight to protect a resource and protect their monopoly. That's like a conventional monopoly. Monopoly's good, competition bad. The last piece of this is talking about the power law. I mean, it's like an extreme version of the 80-20 principle, if you're familiar with that, which is that 80% of the results come from 20% of the work for any given thing, right? Pareto's distribution. Tim Ferriss talks about this all the time. Mm-hmm. The power law is something more like 1 unit of a portfolio of anything, right? In this case, the first example is a VC fund. One company in a VC fund is going to outweigh 99 other companies, right? And it's gonna be like you invest in Facebook, you invest in Quarko and Zorbo and Fizzle and DupeSnatch, right? All of these, I made those up, but you probably didn't know, right? Yeah. Well, I found there was a sticker on the wall called Bro Finder without an E. That's an actual startup somewhere, Bro Finder. So. So people invest in all of these companies, and then Facebook is the thing that makes the entire fund valuable. The other companies basically decline, approaching zero in value. That's the power law. Super, super powerful concept because it's a good intuitive model for exponential curves, which I think is really hard to understand for a lot of people.
Gotcha. So if Now that you've gone through the book multiple times and you've had this love and hate relationship, I'm sure flipping back and forth, what would your final call be on this book for others, whether or not they should read it? Is there a deeper value they could get out of it beyond what you summarized in your article?
What I was about to say is definitely read the article, and if you're curious about a certain section, read that section. I think that is the best way to approach this book. You'll notice in the article what sections I'm not that fond of. I gave really short summaries. Pretty much, if you skim my article and you go, I see which sections are short, that is my recommendation for which sections you shouldn't necessarily read to get value out of.
Sure.
I think I would recommend everybody read the chapter on sales. I forget what the title of it is, if you have the book already. Otherwise, you can read my summary. I think I do a pretty good job of summarizing the concepts of the chapter on sales. That's something that was extremely valuable to me personally, because I had the belief about sales before this book that they're actually attacking, which is sales are kind of a slimy process. And I've been convinced by this that actually sales are not at all a slimy process. If you feel that way, it's because you've encountered someone who's not necessarily good at sales, but they think they're good at sales, and that's why they have that vibe. So the Wall Street style of sales, it's not good sales.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might think sales is slimy because it's done for the wrong reasons, right? Just pure money, right? Where if you're doing it for the right reasons, I'm trying to give you a service that you actually would better your life, then it's worth selling, and everyone wins.
Yeah, totally. Or you're trying to sell your friend on doing something good for them that's not even to do with money.
Yep.
That's still like convincing somebody is sales.
Persuasion and sales, they're all synonymous. Yeah.
All synonymous, yeah. So that was pretty big for me.
All right.
It's really good.
Well, you may have predicted my last question and I already answered it, but I'll throw it out there anyway in case it's slightly different than the sales chapter. But if you had to give folks one thing that they would walk away from this video with, what would that be?
Actually, it wouldn't be the sales. It would be there's two parts of one concept, which I've been saying over and over, which is the whole theme of the book is focus on the truth part of the contrarian question. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Mm-hmm. And then apply that to everything in your life. Like it's actually, even if you don't get value out of it, even if you don't get immediate value out of it, you will get value over time of just reflecting on your life of, what am I doing that's true? Like, are my actions in line with my words? Is that's the truth, right? Mm-hmm. If they're not, there's a secret there. The truth is, I'm not doing what I say. So that is what I would say is like the takeaway from the book. You get that in the first chapter of the question, but then you get tons and tons of examples throughout the book of how it's applied.
Just really hammers it home.
I think it's super valuable. Yeah, it really hammers it home.
All right. Well, that was great, Peter. We're just over time, so if you could pop that book up again, and we'll also put a link to it in the description below. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And also there will be a link to Peter's summary article. Make sure to browse that. If you find one section that's more valuable, just hone in on that and you apply the 80-20 rule to your life. Just pick and choose what's valuable to you, and that's how we've broken up our articles to make it easy.
Cool. Also check out our other articles on our site, Sophonaut.com. And thanks for watching.
Thanks. Until next time. See ya.
All right.